Hello, I'm Makoto Ikegami, yes. This time, I will introduce 3 things I did to lose weight successfully through dieting. I managed to lose 33 pounds through dieting. At that time, I lost weight in the wrong way and became too thin. So I've had various experiences and struggled a lot until now. So, I want to share my experiences while stepping on them so that everyone doesn't have to go through the same thing. I think I mentioned in my previous video that I think dieting is a mental game, but I'll also talk about why I felt that way and what I should do from now on. First, I will introduce the 3 things I quit. The first one is a diet of not eating. The second one is getting stressed. The third one is being controlled by my weight. If you can quit these 3 things, you'll feel better, and you'll be able to enjoy your diet. I'll explain each one in detail. First of all, the first one, not eating diet, is the beginning of a vicious cycle. This is really dangerous. In terms of what happens to your body, it leads to things like rebound and makes it easier for you to gain weight. For example, if we talk about sleep, reducing sleep leads to sleep deprivation, which can cause dark circles under your eyes, ruin your skin, and later on your brain doesn't function well, or you lose your strength. When you cut down on things that are essential for living, a vicious cycle is created. The reason for rebound is that a body that has been on a diet of not eating at all gradually adapts to this and becomes a body that doesn't require energy, a so-called energy-saving mode. Even if food suddenly comes in, the body is in energy-saving mode, so it uses all the energy from the food for storage, and this turns into fat. This is how you end up with a body that easily gains weight, and the fat that has accumulated is hard to get rid of. As a result, you end up with a body that is prone to gaining weight and difficult to lose weight. There are things like half-day or week-long fasting, but all of these require proper preparation and refeeding periods. If you don't do it the right way, it can be dangerous. Please be careful about not eating. Next, speaking from personal experience, I have records of my past recording diet. My diet at that time was 2 bites of apple for breakfast, 1 mini tomato and a 1/4 cup of tofu for lunch, and 1 leaf of lettuce for dinner. I followed this diet for extended periods, managing to live and exercise, stretch, get massages, and train. However, it was extremely challenging and presented numerous difficulties. What kind of changes did you experience when you were actually living this diet? I've summarized what I can remember, so please take a look at this. Yes, there's absolutely no problem with you looking at it like this and saying it clearly. This photo shows the before and after changes. At my peak, I weighed around 123.458 pounds with 27% body fat. At my thinnest, I was around 90 pounds with 9% body fat. I thought I could lose weight easily due to my long-term exercise and muscular physique. However, neglect and overeating made me lose both muscle and fat, becoming extremely thin. My arms were thinner than normal, or as I lost weight, my face looked bigger and so on. My whole body became bony, and it wasn't a healthy thinness. I didn't think so myself, but there were many times when people around me were worried. There were also people who were more so than me. I think there are people who are going through a lot of trouble, but when it gets to the point where eating is scary, it's really hard, and it becomes very difficult to recover. Even though I've heard that eating makes your body easier to burn energy and ultimately makes it easier to lose weight, there were times when I, including my past self, couldn't believe such words. I think there were times when I couldn't listen to what anyone said. But what I felt after trying various diets myself is that when you eat and lose weight, you can keep your body toned and tightened. But if you lose weight without eating, you just get thinner and it's not a good look. You end up looking gaunt and skeletal, which is not the goal. Eating regularly helps prevent constipation and improves bowel movements, allowing your body to excrete waste and burn consumed energy more efficiently. Counterintuitively, eating can actually make it easier to lose weight in the long run. I think it's better to choose to eat after all. So what should we do in the end? This is where we need to be careful. When you're already full and still want to eat, or when you can't resist sweet desserts, just go ahead and eat. On the contrary, on days when you decide to eat healthy, or when you decide to eat something good for your body, you should control your intake. This on and off approach is important. Once you eat and feel satisfied, you can switch gears and work hard the next day. I've been involved with children in my work quite recently, and what I often feel then is, for example, when a child wants to do something, I let them do it and then move on, or I decide whether to endure it for now and move on. So I move on in this way. The performance and mood of the time are completely different. This is true for adults as well. If you can satisfy your heart once, you can switch to the next. But if you can't satisfy here, you can endure it when you become an adult. But I think that will eventually lead to stress, just like children. So when you eat, eat, and when you switch, switch. I think it's easier to continue dieting in the end. If you endure this and that, your motivation will decrease. So when you satisfy thoroughly, and then work hard from the next. I think it's better to think that way, so you won't become a 3-day monk. And one more thing. There is something I want to tell those who are still struggling with their diet. If there are people who are still continuing a diet where they don't eat, I think that's a testament to their strong will, and they can work hard on something. So I want to praise the part of my past self that was able to stick to it like that. However, I think it's very unfortunate if that effort goes in the wrong direction. So if you notice something while watching this video, from now on, I think it would be better for both your mind and body if you could change your direction and direct your efforts in the right direction. I think it's hard to change all at once, but I think it's okay to go at your own pace. So please aim for a healthy body that can enjoy delicious meals. The second thing I quit was getting stressed. Stress is a big enemy of dieting. If you're on a strict diet and working hard but not losing weight, then there's a possibility that stress could be the cause. I also had a period where I was working so hard but couldn't lose weight, and I was living a life where I couldn't lose weight no matter what. I learned the term stress fat during that time and was really shocked. Stress is something that you feel in your body more than you think, so I want everyone to be careful. Looking back now, I think the most important thing is to reduce this stress. Diet equals mental, but the one that disturbs this mental is stress. I am conscious of not letting stress get to me. So what happens when you feel stress? What should you do specifically? I've summed up 2 things in my own way. The first is not to make too many rules, and the second is to praise yourself. Let's talk about not making too many rules first. This is especially important for those who are perfectionistic, but also for training and such. In things like diet management, if you make too many detailed rules, you end up tormenting yourself in the end. Forcing yourself to do something you've decided on every day, or feeling guilty, and blaming yourself on days when you can't do it due to some circumstances. Such small things cause stress. It becomes a cause, and unconsciously brainwashing yourself to keep that rule will lead you in an even worse direction. For example, speaking from my own experience, first of all, I tried to control my sweets. And from there, I started to stop. And there were also times when I wanted to eat. And gradually, I brainwashed myself and ran to chewing or fasting. And from a lighthearted feeling, I gradually got deeper and worsened. Not everyone will become like this, but it is possible to become like this. I actually felt the possibility, so I think you should be careful. Next, I decided on my own. I used to have a daily diet routine that lasted about 4 or 5 hours, but I continued it while also working. So I sometimes found myself sleep-deprived or my body falling apart. So, what should I do? There are times when I want to strictly adhere to the rules, and there are times when I feel it's hard. So, I don't completely ignore the rules, but I adjust them to suit myself. I think it's less stressful and more sustainable to set rules that are right for you. For example, instead of setting detailed rules like, I will continue every day, or I will definitely do it on this day, and this day, just a little more, I think it's okay to do it a few times a week or a few times a month. I think you can do it in a way that suits you. I think it's better to set rules that don't limit stress. That way, you can have more freedom and enjoy things a little more easily. By reducing stress in this way, you can maintain motivation and naturally start to think, I should do this today, or I need to do this today. I'll talk about how to praise your second self. This depends on the situation, but it's not bad to be strict with yourself. Please praise yourself a lot. I used to think that if I praised myself, I would become complacent and slack off. I couldn't always praise myself. I was too demanding of myself, so even when I achieved something, I would think, I am still not good enough, or why did this happen? I blamed myself to motivate myself, but that in itself was stressful. I realized that no matter what results I achieved in the future, I would never be satisfied. When you get like that, you can't feel joy or happiness in anything, and I didn't want that. So it's important to focus on each thing you've done and praise yourself for each action you've taken. The third thing I want to talk about is being controlled by your weight. It's scary and difficult to say, please look in the mirror more than the scale, or don't worry about your weight. But if you can do this, it will make you much happier. It also helps to reduce stress, as I mentioned earlier. When I was only focused on my weight, I felt three things. I was controlled by numbers and my self-esteem decreased. Secondly, I blamed myself every time my weight didn't decrease. Thirdly, stress can easily accumulate. Next, I'll talk about my personal experience. I used to send my weight to the office every day and manage it, so I was overly obsessed with my weight. That weight, my appearance, and my work were all connected, so if I couldn't lose weight, I would blame myself a lot. On shooting days, I would do anything to reach my target weight, like taking half-body baths or exercising desperately, and I would force myself to clear it. So even though it was just a matter of a few grams, I spent a lot of time on it. Looking back now, I wonder if it was really necessary to go that far. I think it would have been better if I could have been more aware of how I looked. That's what I've been talking about so far. The diet of not eating. The only time I felt happy was when I was feeling excessive stress and my weight decreased. Everything else was all about patience and stress, and the only time I felt happy was when I lost weight. I was shocked when I realized that I couldn't be happy unless I lost weight. I felt so miserable thinking that I would never be satisfied or happy in my life. For the first time, I hated myself. I understand very well the feeling of being obsessed with weight. But even with the same weight, the body shape and physique can change a lot. For example, if the same thickness of the leg is here, this side is muscle or fat, and the appearance is completely different if it is tightened with muscle. So in the end, numbers and weight become a part of self-satisfaction. For example, for athletes, the number is important because it decreases. But for us, it's not like that. For example, when you meet someone in the street, you can't tell your weight. So what can be seen is mostly the body shape, or the quality part. I think that as long as you live normally, your weight will not be revealed unless you say it yourself. The part that you care about before that is more about appearance than the numbers of your body. Instead of focusing on the weight scale, closely examine your reflection in the mirror and make changes based on what you see. That's the key point. I feel like I really want to tell my past self this. There may be some people who say that the only reassurance they have is the weight scale. But that's not the case, so look at that. I think it's good if it helps maintain your motivation, but if it causes you stress, in such cases, if you feel like you might have gained weight today, it might be better not to step on the scale. If you feel you've lost weight due to tension or feeling lighter, try stepping on the scale occasionally. You don't need to weigh yourself daily at first. Gradually reduce the frequency over time. That's also a good approach. Now, I want to know my body fat percentage. And I've also become able to control my emotions even when I see my weight. I have a scale, but I don't just go by the numbers. I gradually control it and it makes me feel better. I would be happy if I could convey that. Finding the right approach for weight loss is personal. You may not understand everything, but it's worth trying different methods. However, if daily weigh-ins are causing stress, it's time to reconsider that practice. I think it's okay to have a period of 3 or 5 days where you don't step on the scale. If there's a part of you that thinks, let's try changing this a bit, or let's try incorporating this, I encourage you to give it a try. The wrong diet I mentioned at the end has the potential to get worse the longer it continues, whether it's for a month or a year. It's not just about dieting, but also about work. I was in a state where I didn't know what I was doing when I realized I had been doing it non-stop for 3 years. I was really scared at that time. I think there are parts that you can't notice by yourself if you keep going for a long time, and the longer it goes on, the harder it is to change. So, if you notice something or think about improving something after watching this video, I would be very happy. I myself have been through that, but I think I'm not the only one fighting. Even if it makes your heart feel better or makes it easier to accept yourself, it's not a bad thing. There might be parts that are biased just by my words, so if there are better ways from those who have experienced it, or from everyone else, I would be happy if you could leave them in the comments. I hope this video and the comment section can be of help to someone, even a little. Especially if you thought this video was good, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, so please follow me there as well. This was Makoto Ikeda. Bye-bye.